Hi, welcome everyone to the Climate Career Kit podcast. This is your host, Aishni Garg. If you are a high schooler looking for direction in climate change related careers, tune in to every episode for advice from the diverse leaders in climate change today and learn about new and exciting opportunities that you can pursue. Today's guest is Statton Hammock, who is currently the head of legal and compliance at Aspiration. Welcome, Statton. Thank you for joining us.
Aishni, thank you very much for inviting me to participate on your podcast. I'm looking forward to answering questions from you and engaging your audience. So thank you for having me.
Yep, thank you. Could you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Certainly. So I'm effectively the general counsel for a company called Aspiration Partners. It's a California company. We have two business lines. One is a green financial services business, where we offer credit cards, cash management accounts, debit cards to consumers who want to do banking only with those companies that they know will not invest in fossil fuel industries. So we have a whole network of banks that we work with that have made a pledge, an aspiration pledge, that they will not use any of the funds that are being at those banks for any fossil fuel development or anything of that nature. The second line of our business is enterprise sustainability services. So we work with some of the largest companies in the world to help them plot and plan their sustainability strategies. And then to the extent that reduction of emissions to zero is impossible, we have a portfolio of the highest quality carbon credit offsets in the marketplace that we procure from our investments in carbon sequestration and carbon removal projects all around the world to get these very high quality carbon credits, which we can use to apply to sell to our companies that will be used to apply against their emissions, scope 1, 2, and 3, so that they can achieve their net zero goal. So as their lawyer, I do a lot of project finance in carbon sequestration and removal projects. I do a lot of offtake agreements with our partners who want to buy and sell our credits. And just generally running any other business in terms of block and tackling on the legal work. So my legal work is, or my work is primarily legal, but it is focused on the climate and sustainability enterprise sector. And I'm very happy to be doing that.
That was really interesting. I was also curious about some of the startups that you founded. Could you tell me a little more about them?
Yes. So a couple of startups that I've worked with in the climate space have been the Foundation for Planetary Intelligence, that is using crunching data to find where solutions can be scaled and deployed all over the world. But I also am a co-founder of my own startup that's not in the climate space, but is rather in the space to help students like yourself in high school who are going to college, raise money that will offset the expenses of their college education so that they do not graduate with debt. Because my co-founder and I have done a lot of research and find that students that graduate from college and universities with debt, particularly students of color, it's exponentially, more adverse and difficult for them to achieve personal and professional goals with carrying that debt. So our startup is called Gap Funder, which is a platform that allows students to raise money, crowdfunding, really like a GoFundMe, but it's only for college tuition. You can't use that money for parties or anything. It goes right to the university to offset, expenses related to tuition costs, lab fees, etc.
Okay. What inspired your journey in climate?
Thanks for the question. So about a year and a half ago, I had left a previous role where I was doing internet law and policy I had been doing that for almost a decade. And it was very interesting to me, the work that was involved in doing that. But when I left my role in a former employer, I started thinking about what I wanted to do. And I decided that I'm most happy tackling the most difficult challenges and problems we face. And so I thought about those, and of course you can think about a huge long list of those too: healthcare, education, poverty, homelessness. Like the list can be pretty long. But among those was, of course, climate. And in working with the foundation, as I mentioned before, one of those startups, they sent me to Terra, which was a 12-week intensive course on climate, all things climate, climate finance, climate and sustainability and whatever. And I worked through that program with a cohort of about 30 individuals. And when I came out, I had made the firm commitment, personally and professionally, to work on the climate problem for the rest of my professional career, as long as it lasts, which I hope still has, I have a few decades ahead of me. So really that was it. It was really just sitting around and thinking, what is the most difficult problem we face as humans today? I want to work on that problem. And so that's why I'm in climate. And for the rest, as I said, for the rest of my career, I'm working on climate somewhere, somehow, with as many organizations as I can find time to contribute to.
What does success in your specific role look like?
Success in my role would be to help my teams internally line up companies. Right now, we're doing this at such big scale. These are really large companies we're dealing with, right? Who are buying credits by the millions over long periods of time. But what I'd really like to see, in addition to satisfying the needs of those companies, is expanding our portfolio of the highest quality carbon credits and making them available to others, other smaller companies or smaller enterprises, really. And probably your listeners or your viewers, have their own opinions about carbon credits. It happens to be something that's debated in the climate community, whether we should be allowing companies that are emitting to continue to emitting with using carbon credits to offset or neutralize their emissions goals, right? So I understand that, but in my view, given the complexity and seriousness and scale of the problem we face, I think every solution needs to be every successfully proven solution needs to be adopted and implemented. And I think the use of carbon credits is one of those solutions that I think has a place in the overall, sort of solution set to address the climate problem. I mean, realistically, some companies just can't, with a flip of the switch, like reduce all emissions to zero. They just can't, right? I mean, we're a functioning society, and transportation is part of that society. And for that reason, we need carbon credits. And so, I'm just hoping that I can continue my work so that my team can both source and then make available to companies, the highest quality carbon credits in the marketplace.
Thank you. What advice do you have for other high schoolers who are considering pursuing a climate career and need some direction?
Okay, so great question. Hey, I got great news for you, young high school students. The market out there is huge now. When I was a high school student many years ago, there was not this kind of focus and attention on the climate problem, on environmental issues. Now, there were environmental concerns and problems, and there have been for decades and decades and decades, even before me, right? Like, it's been around for a while, but the amount of concern and investment being made by companies right now in climate tech, climate strategy, mitigation, sequestration is enormous. So there is good news for you. There is a lot of opportunity to pursue a career in climate, which I don't think very many generations before yours had so many. Okay, and as any person who works in climate will tell you, every job is a climate job, in the sense that whatever it is you're doing, whether you're interested in engineering or arts and sciences or history, political science, architecture, social science, psychology, all of those jobs you can think about all of those jobs and what they do to address, the climate problem. And you can find an employer ultimately when if you go to college and matriculate after 4 years and have a degree, you can find an employer who will working in one of those sectors that has a job for you. And if you choose not to go to college, which is fine, and want to go right into climate work, there's plenty of opportunities for training you to become a sustainability officer or a ESG reporter or an analyst or any of those things. So, that's what I would say to you. You have opportunities, and if you have that passion, then you will find something that I think you'll find rewarding. But it really is the passion that really makes people want to help you, right? Until I was able to have my own story where, like, I'm working on this now for the rest of my life. Until I got to that point, folks weren't as sure how to help me. Now they do.
Now, kind of going off of that, are you aware of any opportunities, resources, or internships that are available to high schoolers who are interested in your field of environmental law? Right?
No, but I will tell you, there's a lot of Slack communities out there in climate, and I'm sure you and your listeners are familiar with some of those. That's where I would go. Because places like Work on Climate and Climate Base and other resources, there's a lot of career related information, and while some of it might be more appropriate for somebody for a college graduate or whatever, some of those resource materials I think are absolutely appropriate for high schoolers to review and think about when they're considering their journey. When I was going to college, I wanted to become a lawyer. So I majored in political science and history and took a lot of classes that made me write, which is what lawyers do all the time. So if becoming an environmental lawyer or working in the law in climate is something that one of your audience members would be interested in, then yes, I mean, the path is to work on communication skills as much as you can. Take every class you can that makes you write, and do public speaking, because that is absolutely critical in doing climate advocacy work, which is what lawyers do. So if you want to become a climate advocate, reading and writing and doing public speaking, about the challenges that lay ahead and the solutions that lay ahead, then any course of study in the humanities and the arts is really helpful. And then if you're sort of science or STEM minded, then start looking at the climate tech fields and what the technologies are out there that enable companies to do regenerative agriculture and reforestation and carbon sequestration and removal. That technology is we need.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. And make sure to tune into the next episode of the Climate Career Kit.
Thank you very much for having me, and good luck to you and all your fellow students on their climate career.
Thank you.